I'm my own biggest critic. And out there, I was seeing all types of openings, and I just wasn't pulling the trigger on a good 50, 60% of them. I was just going for the real easy ones, like the side kick. That was like so open and it was out of his punching range. But boxing wise and stuff, something inside of me was like, don't get caught with a big hand, playing smart, just way too hesitant there. So yeah, I don't know. I'm grateful for a lot, but I'm still a little disappointed. Just know there's a much higher level inside of me. I'm not one to just fight last minute opponents like that. And I switched up to a big old hard, heavy-hitted southpaw, and I was so primed for Daniel Cormier. So I'm not going to be too disappointed because I believe that I'm going to move and groove when I actually face this style that I've been thinking about for 7 months.
After the fight's over, I'm sure you probably saw DC. He was kind of wishing he was in there. Maybe you weren't having your best night. Do you believe it was ring rust, not your best night, or do you believe it was the switch of opponents that made the big difference in what your performance was tonight?
I think it was more the switch of opponents. I think it was more the switch of opponents. Yeah, if you've been following my career, you know how big I am to studying. I'm huge into studying. Me and my team, that's what we do. And it's why I'm so confident going into my fights, is because I know what I'm getting into. And tonight, Ovince just threw a completely different, it was just a completely different thing than what I had prepared for. So I'm going to say it was more the switch of opponents than ring rust. As far as ring rust, I was attacking it. Not as much as I liked, and my cardio was great, no butterflies, being nervous, walking out, I was loving it, feeling the moment, felt present in the octagon, but just hesitant to attack, and it was ring rust. Not ring rust, it was switching the fly.
I know they said something about after the fight you were in a wheelchair or something, but you walked up there, you looked perfectly fine. How are you health-wise? And everyone's going to ask you the question,
right.
Do you feel good enough that you could fight at UFC 200?
I feel great enough to fight at UFC 200, for sure. Right away, my shins were swollen, my left shin was swollen, my left foot was swollen, and when my adrenaline came down, I felt some serious pain, so I just got in the wheelchair, made it easier for myself. But once I got a shoe on my foot, everything's a little more compressed now, and I'm walking around pretty close to fine. So I know by Wednesday, I'll be totally fine. Back in the gym, getting ready for Daniel Cormier.
Last question. I know it was killing you to not fight DC. I noticed on your way out of the octagon, you gave him you told him he was number one. So, does it just start up again right now? Do you already kind of have that feel in your body that you just want to start, getting ready for Daniel Cormier?
Yeah, you know what? I gave Daniel the finger leaving the octagon. It felt great to do. It creates buzz. It gets people ready for the fight. It's like, okay, me and DC don't like each other. He's been in my sights this whole time. We had a minor bump in the road. We had to take a little detour, and now it's back to this beef with DC. So there was not too many emotions involved with me doing it. It was more for fun. It was more to get a reaction from the fans and restart this story between me and DC.
I was going to ask you a little bit about that because the other day you were praising him and you were happy for him that he won the title. And when I asked you, why don't you like him, you said, well, because you don't like me.
Right.
And you said a lot of praiseworthy things about him. So now you got to take that back and sort of start snarling at him again?
Yeah. It's like, I said what I said and I meant what I said. But at the end of the day, it's exciting when you fight someone that you don't like and they don't like you. You want to keep that going. And so I just wanted to give him the finger just just to keep it going, just to, get under your skin and keep the fans excited.
So, about a year ago, you were stripped of that belt. So
Yeah.
now you're back, and you don't want the interim belt, but you might have been stripped of something else tonight. A lot of people are saying Demetrius Johnson is the pound-for-pound best fighter in the world now. And I wonder, I don't know if you looked at his performance, but, if you look at him, and do you feel like he has a case for it, given how many fights in a row he's won, and how he looked tonight compared to how you looked tonight?
You know what, Demetrius Johnson, man, he is a tremendous athlete. He's a tremendous athlete, and I really don't compare myself to other fighters. I don't compare myself financially. I don't care, star power. None of this stuff. I feel like I'm famous enough, and that's always going to be an argument to debate. I've beat like 8 or 9 former world champions. That's something that not many people, no one's ever done in the sport. So I'm really confident in who I am and what I've accomplished, and I think there's room for many people to be stars. Some people may look up to me and find motivation in me for this reason, and they'll look up to Demetrius for this reason, and they'll look up to Connor for this reason, and we're all stars, and someone else's star declining doesn't make my star climb any higher. There's enough room in the sky for many people to be admired and respected. So, whether people find me as the greatest ever, that's their opinion, and whether people find Demetrius, it's always going to be a debatable topic. But I'll tell you this, I'll be really clear, I don't mind sharing that debate with a guy like Demetrius Johnson. He's unbelievable.
Let's ask you one thing. I looked up the other day, and it's kind of amazing to see, but of 10 UFC champions, since you do have a title in front of you, you were the 3rd youngest champion.
The 3rd youngest champion.
Youngest Connor is younger than you are, and Joanna is younger than you by a month. So everybody else is older than you are. So I wonder, even though some people think, well, maybe Jon's hit his peak and everything, you're still a young dude, relatively speaking. Do you feel like you're ascending in terms of your skills, and that can you be better than you were when you beat Shogun or when you beat Rampage, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, I honestly do not feel as if I've hit my peak. I just hired a new jiu-jitsu coach to complement Greg Jackson's Gato Jiu-Jitsu, Roberto Tusa, Gracie Baja, unbelievable jiu-jitsu coach. I felt so comfortable on the ground tonight, even though I couldn't get a submission. I just felt really comfortable on the ground. New strength and conditioning coaches. There's a much higher level inside of me, and I'm going to display it in my next fight.
And my last question for you is, so you said you didn't want the belt. Do you want it now, and why did you say what you said in the octagon? Just out of curiosity, was it sort of in the heat of the moment, or do you feel like that was...
This interim belt?
The interim
belt? It's cool and all, it's nice and shiny. But, I look at myself as a true champion, and I lost the belt, and I'm on a journey to get it back. So, this belt here, it makes me feel good. I took some pictures with it and everything, but, there's no real satisfaction. There's no real, touchdown moment. We made it, guys. No, me and my coaches, my teammates, we're right back to the drawing board. We're still on a mission. This thing it's kind of made up. It's kind of fake.
I know you said that you felt disappointed that you kind of missed some openings and things like that, but I am curious, how much of patience and drawing it out was part of the game plan? Because I think some people were thinking maybe you kind of came in wanting to get some time in the cage underneath you, kind of wanting to work some time out. So, was there a plan to kind of be patient, not attack right from the beginning?
One thing I noticed about this fight was I had this level of relaxation in there where I was just living in the moment and just enjoying it. It was okay, I'm winning every round. Yeah, I'm getting booed for the first time, but I'm still winning. And Ovince is a heavy hitter. He has this huge knockout power, and I'm like, dude, I can't lose to a guy like Ovince. Trying to do too much. So a part of me, this may sound funny, I don't know. A part of me was just you gotta fight DC, Jon. You gotta fight DC. Like, do what you gotta do to win this fight. You know, the goal is to get back to DC. Whether you look like crap right now or not, you know, the goal is to get back to DC. So I'm not making any excuses, but that was definitely in my psychology. It's just like, all right, you know, do what you gotta do to win each round. Finish if you can, but don't miss out on an opportunity to fight DC. Getting in there and haymaking with a guy who has this freakish knockout power, and you know, the guy who gets these knockouts with these really weird and unpredictable angles. So yeah.
And you mentioned the boos. It definitely wasn't obviously the most exciting fight, but how much of that you put on OSP? Because it did seem like there came a point where it just seemed like he was happy to be in there and survive with it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. At one moment, when I was hearing the boos, I realized, I'm chasing this guy. Like, I was chasing him, and he was just circling and backing up. So I was like, all right, maybe these boos aren't for me. You know, but you know, I like to give exciting fights, and I felt as if I put my best foot forward, and you know, obviously I could do more, and I'm hoping that the majority of the boos were for Ovince. I think the fans are just used to me doing, you know, giving them real cool, exciting stuff, and they saw a more hesitant version of me versus a guy who was backing up a lot.
And you've been very open and honest all week in assessing your performance right now. Honestly, as you're sitting there, how do you think this version of Jon Jones would have done against Daniel Cormier tonight?
I would beat him up pretty good because I am tuned up to be fighting Daniel Cormier. You know, all my techniques, the angles, my ideas. Yeah, I've been working for Daniel Cormier for 7 months, over 7 months, and you know, it's like you put the Patriots, you know, or I'm not even gonna make a football analogy. I've been training for one fighter, and they threw me this taller, power punching, or switching stances, you know. It wasn't what I was training for. So I believe I can beat Daniel Cormier right now, for sure, and I'm gonna prove that as soon as possible.
Jon, here to your left. Obviously, Ovince had some decent takedown defense in the center of the cage, but as it got to the fence, you took him down with relative ease, but that wasn't really until the 4th round. Did you not really want to go that route? Were you choosing to strike rather than taking an approach where you had a really dominant advantage?
Yeah, I just felt content on the feet. I felt like things were going well and I was winning, and I just thought to myself, you know, I just didn't want to shoot out in the open. You know, the shot against the cage was relatively easy. He was a tall guy, and so I just took the safer shots, easier shots.
In the last 15 months, I'd be curious if you could speak to it from a technical perspective. You're in your prime, you didn't fight, so you lost out on the ability to stay regular with your competition schedule, but you had nothing else to do but just get better. So I'm wondering now, looking back on the last 15 months, can you tell us, from your judgment, whether it was reflected tonight or not, do you feel like you got significantly better, or how would you assess it?
I feel like I've gotten a lot better. I think you guys will see that when I fight DC. Like I keep saying, I have been working so hard to beat DC, you know, and you guys will see that. You will see that. You'll see, okay, here's Jon. Everything is opening. You know, I feel like I'm going to pick DC apart. I feel like I'm ready to out-wrestle him. I feel like I'm going to beat him up really, really bad. Like I said, this change of opponent really threw me off my game. Yes, I've gotten a lot better. All right, if you guys are done.
I got one more. If there was any aspect of ring rust that you felt, was it the reaction that your body had? You talked about the swollen shins, etc., or was there something different that you said, hey, this is different, I haven't felt it since the last time I stepped with an octagon?
No, honestly, I don't really think I felt too much ring rust. Maybe there was a very slight amount of ring rust in there. You know, I really just think I played it cautious. You know, I took a gamble for my fans to fight Ovince Saint Preux last minute, a southpaw knockout artist, and somewhere in my subconscious, I thought to myself, if I somehow get clipped by this guy who has nothing to lose, I'm going to be really disappointed. So I was satisfied winning the fight no matter how ugly the fight was. And, you know, as far as my shins, I think I broke his arm with a kick. So, you know, we were clashing bones real hard, and a few times, I can't even talk straight. It's like I've been punched in the head or something. A few times my foot, you know, collided with his forearms and elbows and stuff like that. So very, very typical, you know, standard injuries for a guy who kicks a lot. I am going to be icing up tonight, and I'll be back at practice this week, ready to continue this game plan.
Go, we'll take you. You'll be the last one.
And John, one final question, just touching on what you just said. You mentioned taking that replacement opponent. You stepped to the plate, you handle business. Does this kind of give you a little bit of personal redemption and put those ghosts, the
Yeah.
whole child son and thing?
Thanks for asking that question. Great question.
Put to rest.
Absolutely. It makes us even. It's like, okay, Jon Jones ruined the day. I meet fans to this day who are like, dude, I saved my money, I have my flight, I have my ticket, I made a lot of sacrifices to see you for the first time. You know, people are like really pissed off at me sometimes about that. And I've always felt like, okay, I stay true to myself and my coaching staff, because that's just not what we do. But then I've always felt a certain amount of guilt for the people who sacrificed and missed out. So fighting this time really made me feel like, you know, I saved the day for a lot of my fans, and I got to do something really positive for those guys. And I knew it was a big risk fighting Southpaw knockout artist, one that I didn't prepare for, but I took that for them, and we won that fight. And yeah, I was happy to go relax with my friends and family. I will see you guys. God bless you all. Thank you for being here.
Good night, everybody.